All right, everybody. The attendance tonight was 11,100. The gate was $700,000. Fight of the night, Najem and Ferreira. Performance, Dillashaw and Medeiros. Yancey, congratulations. You guys won $50,000. And for those of you that didn't know, the fighters who won on the main card, every one of them won a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. That is awesome. Congratulations. So if you won $50,000 and a motorcycle, good for you. What a night. Who's got the first question?
Hey, Dana, you had 4 fighters that ended up not fighting tonight. I'm curious, what pay decisions did you make with those guys? You know, obviously, Barao, Jorgensen, Cejudo, and Burchik.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Sometimes, you know, in situations like that, especially like Jorgensen, you know, he didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes you'll give a guy show money or show and win money.
Yeah.
Do you know what decisions were made with those 4 fighters?
Yeah, well, Barao's not making any money. I mean, I'm not paying Barao. Barao showed up and didn't fight.
Cejudo would be in the same boat?
Yeah, and most of I think the other kid that didn't make weight.
Cejudo.
Right, and the other kids will get paid.
Show and win for Jorgensen and Burchik.
Of course, yeah.
Fantastic. The other thing is, obviously, with this week, a big theme seemed to be weight cutting, you know, and the dangers. And obviously, we know it is a tough thing in the sport. So what do you think? Is this a sign that the UFC can or should do anything to get involved in this process? To, you know, people are looking for solutions to keep these guys safe. What are your thoughts on it?
Nobody's ever been hurt from it. I mean, there's only so much we can do. A guy like Kenan Barao's been fighting forever. I mean, he's been making weight forever. This isn't like this kid just came into the UFC and now he can't make weight. I mean, these guys, this is what they do. It's part of the job. And if you can't make the weight, you move up.
Thank you. And we could for Tony, obviously very entertaining fight, very close fight. At the end of the 3 rounds, how confident were you that you won the fight? Were you sure that you'd done enough?
I was just pissed I didn't get the finish, man. That's what I came in here to do. I promised you guys a finish. It won't ever happen again. I already know not to leave it in the hands of the judges. I thought I had him finished in the first round with my Darce, but obviously I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board. And I had a little coach in the back actually give me some pointers, so I'm going to go back to the drawing board and practice more.
I was going to say, you've shown a tendency, you know, you'll dive for legs and give up position and kind of let guys be on top of you. Is that something that people are trying to coach out of you to say, hey, quick, get up positions like that, or is that just the way you want to fight?
That's just me, baby. That's just what I do. I practice it in the room, and you know what? When I pull that trigger in the practice room, I can do the exact same thing in the octagon. The one thing that I thought was my wrestling was better than him. When he shot in on me and I felt that his power wasn't as strong as some of my practice partners, I immediately kind of changed my game in my head, and my hands kind of just weren't feeling that right. I wanted to wrestle him, but I didn't practice that. So you know what? I'm going to go back to the drawing board, and next time I'm going to make it full well-rounded MMA.
Fantastic. And just real quickly, if I could, for Yancey, obviously a fantastic performance, but a unique finish there at the end. Have you ever hit that version of the choke before, or was that something that just kind of made up on the fly when he turned the way he did?
I actually felt it was real tight on when I had the choke, and I just trained with great martial artists. I got good sambo coaches, Vali Ignatov and Nick Diaz, so you know, we take advantage of every situation, and I felt I had that choke, and I was like, I ain't letting this go till that ref pulls me off.
Just so you guys know, they transported Joe Soto straight to the hospital, and Dillashaw will be here in a few minutes.
Question for Betch Correa. Before the fight, Shayna Baszler had said that, you know, you don't finish anybody, and she kind of made these statements. Did that get in your head at all to go out there and really put it on her and get that finish?
Antes da luta, a Shayna falou que você não acabava a luta, que você nunca finalizava. Isso entrou na sua cabeça? Te deu uma motivação entrando nessa luta?
Sim, muitos falaram que eu era só uma lutadora de pontuar, que eu não procurava decidir os combates. Então, isso me motivou, sim. Eu lutei para tentar realmente decidir a luta, não deixar nas mãos, dessa vez, dos árbitros.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that I fight for points, but I wanted to go in here and I wanted to show that I can finish fights, and I can't leave it all in the hands of the judges every time.
And you made a very strong statement after the fight and made a statement to Ronda Rousey. Do you feel like now you should be the #1 contender to get that title shot, and maybe give a message to Ronda right now since we got you at the press conference?
E você deu aquele recado para a Ronda, você acha que você é a próxima desafiante? E se quiser deixar outro recado para ela?
Eu adoraria, sim. O meu sonho é ser a campeã, lutar pelo título e ser a melhor do mundo, né? Então, eu tenho 3 lutas no UFC, estou invicta. Então, assim, eu acho que... E eu quero eu quero lutar com ela e eu acho que se me der essa oportunidade, eu vou mostrar que eu vou fazer uma grande luta e eu acredito que eu posso vencê-la, sim.
Yes, I'd love to have a chance at the title. I'd love to be champion. I have 3 fights in the UFC. I'm undefeated right now, and I feel that if I had the chance for the title, I would go in there and I would make the most of it.
And since he just got here, I'll go ahead and throw the first question to TJ. Congratulations, of course, on the victory. You know, a lot of people saw you kind of in a lose-lose situation here. If you didn't go out and maul this kid in the first round, you know, it's somehow considered a loss because you're the champion, you're a dominant champion. But talk about Joe Soto, obviously a game performer, and then what it meant to you. I think that's the first time ever someone's finished someone in the 5th round twice, I believe, in UFC history.
I knew Joe Soto was a tough fighter. I've practiced with him. 8-10 weeks ago, he came into our room and practiced with us. You know, I knew he was a tough wrestler, great grappler. You know, I've seen a lot of his fights. You know, Bellator champ. So he's been around, had some great fights. So it was a tough one, man. I mean, to switch my opponent the last minute like that, it was a real stressful situation that I just had to man up and do. And I think that's the positive I took out of it. You know, I mean, it could have been a negative, but for me to start my legacy as champ, I'll take fights on 1 day notice of his opponent switch and just make the positive out of it and come in, put a smile on my face, and try to perform the best of my abilities. And Joe Soto did a great job tonight.
Dana, what do you think is next for Korea now that she's eliminated 2 horsewomen?
Yeah, keep rolling, keep fighting. I mean, there's a long list for Rousey waiting right now. So we'll see what happens. She's on the list.
Short list or the list?
That's a short list, yeah.
Okay. And then your overall impressions with a young man like Soto and his performance here tonight.
Yeah, he didn't come here to just fight. He came here to win. That kid came in to win. He came in, he fought hard, and I was saying this earlier. I don't think that anybody, not even me or any of my staff, had more pressure on us this weekend than TJ Dillashaw did. You know, his opponent got pulled. The opponent, who's one of the pound-for-pound best in the world, you know, the former champion, gets pulled out an hour and 15 minutes before weigh-ins when he's still cutting weight. And, you know, he accepts that fight. Then he's fighting in his hometown, and the list goes on and on. You know, I think he went in, he carried himself like a champ through this whole thing, defended his title at home, and I think he hit it out of the park tonight. I'm happy for him.
Pergunta em português para Beth Correia. Aqui, Beth. Minha pergunta é se você consegue saber o tamanho do feito que você fez hoje à noite, né? Porque você falou que você começou no MMA começou a sua primeira aula de artes marciais foi 3 anos atrás só, e hoje você venceu aí um dos maiores nomes do MMA feminino de todos os tempos.
The question for Beth, do you see what you've done in MMA already? You started training 3 years ago, and you now defeated Shayna Baszler in the UFC. Do you see your progression in the sport?
Eu nasci lutadora, só demorei um pouquinho para me encontrar, né? Mas quando eu me encontrei, fluiu muito fácil, né? Então, assim, só o fato de estar no UFC, para qualquer atleta, já é um feito histórico. Né? É muito forte o UFC, onde estão os melhores lutadores do mundo. E ter ganhado da China, que é uma das pioneiras, já lutou e venceu das tops. Ela já lutou com as tops 10, né, que estão também no UFC, já lutou com algumas e já conseguiu até vencer. Por exemplo, da Alex, por exemplo, é uma delas. Então, assim, mostra que mostra isso pode assim, mostrar ao povo, né, que eu tenho ainda que eu sou boa também, ganha credibilidade para as pessoas, né? E assim eu só quero no meu momento certo, ter a chance de lutar com a Ronda, mostrar que eu posso ganhar dela, que eu tenho uma carta na manga para ganhar da Ronda.
I feel that I was born a fighter. It just took a little while to find myself in the sport, and you know, just to be in the UFC and to be able to compete in the UFC is a huge feat for anyone, for any athlete. And to come in here and fight Shayna, she's fought a lot of the top 10 fighters out there. She's beat a lot of them, so it's a huge feat for anyone to come in here and do that. And I feel that I want to have a chance at Ronda at some point.
Pergunta para o Diego também. A sua primeira luta você finalizou rapidinho e agora você conseguiu um nocaute, né? Fala um pouco sobre a sua evolução na trocação, enfim, você se tornou realmente um lutador completo, né? E muita gente não te conhece no Brasil, acho que agora definitivamente todo mundo te conhece, né?
Question for Diego. In the past fight, you submitted, and now you came in here with a knockout. You worked a lot. You can see the evolution of your exchanges. And do you feel like a more complete MMA fighter?
Assim, eu venho trabalhando bastante no minha parte de MMA, né? Então, tudo que eu venho fazendo é em cima do que eu sou mais fraco. E a parte do boxing e do Muay Thai, eu venho trabalhando com meus coaches no Texas. E isso para mim é uma grandiosidade bem legal para mim, porque isso só me deixa mais evoluído, né? Só quero evoluir mais um pouco para chegar onde eu quero, então é uma situação boa para mim agora.
I've been working a lot on my MMA and especially on those areas that I know that I lack and where I need to work. So I've been working a lot on Muay Thai and boxing and really feel like I'm evolving and getting to be a better fighter.
Question for Ferreira. Ramsey kind of came in, didn't seem to have a whole lot of regard for your stand-up, and you caught him in the first round, and obviously you finished the fight on your feet. Were you surprised that he came in with so little regard for your your danger standing up?
No, just I knew he gonna come like this, really fast, with his overhands, and I kind of take advantage of every opportunity he throw, and I saw when he started getting tired, and I just caught him at the right moment, and for me, it's kind of better the whole time.
And question for TJ, congrats on the victory. So both fights, Barao and Nasota, finished in the 5th round, 220, I think 226 for Barao. So you like that 220 mark, it seems. How tough was Soto as opposed to, if you were to compare him to Barao? Obviously, stylistically, it seemed that you were kind of had to chase Soto a little bit more. Your offense, you had to kind of get after him, and he was more of a counter fighter. Can you describe that?
Yeah, he did a good job with his defense and covering up. I got a little bit too loose sometimes because I was able to be aggressive because he was just covering up. And I wanted to touch. I didn't want to put too much in each punch because I knew he was a good wrestler. I didn't want him to shoot underneath a lot of my punches, so I had to touch a lot more. I had to try to use some angles and where he couldn't get the takedowns. But he was tough, man. He covered up and was throwing good overhand rights, but I should be ready for it because all alpha males got good overhand rights, but took a couple of them.
TJ, right over here, TJ.
Where at? Okay.
It seemed like in the first round you kind of telegraphed a couple kicks. He was ducking under them, and maybe it's because he's a little bit shorter than Barao. But how did you really adjust after that? Because obviously the kick came through in the end.
I waited for the kicks a little bit more. I was a little bit too kick happy, I think, in the beginning, and he just knew they were coming. He did a good job preparing in one day notice of what I was going to do, and he just got good elevation change. He ducks a little bit more than I'm used to. I should have just dropped my kicks down a little bit. I should have got a better angle at it, and I was kicking 3/4 because I expected him to dip into it. I was watching some tape on him and saw some holes, and he changed it up good. So, just a little adjustment I had to make, and did so later on in the rounds.
TJ, can you talk about that kick itself, the one that pretty much knocked him out on his feet? You elevated that one because it caught him flush on the left temple.
Yeah, he circled into it. He was circling hard. The other way I was pressuring him into the cage, and he had to circle to his left, and so I knew the right kick was there.
And also, it looked like at least 50% of Angels Camp made the trip up here. So did you get a sense at all, any reports before the fight, how many people arrived and the tailgating that was going on?
I knew my cousin sold over 600 tickets from everyone in the hometown. I'm sure there's more that came than that. And they were all tailgating today. When I pulled up in the bus, it was amazing to see them all there in the parking lot, and I had a great support.
Yeah, 600 tickets by this guy now.
Yeah, we needed it.
It was the whole town.
Hey, Dana, just a question. Given Joe Soto's gutsy performance tonight, would you say he's in the top 10, top 15? Is the jury still out? Where would you put him?
You're asking the wrong guy. You are the people that decide where he sits in the rankings, not me.
You got a lot of sway, Dana.
I have no idea, man. That's up to you guys.
Now, you've got an interesting situation because you got in the next 5 weeks two of the top guys that could come after him fighting, Dominic Cruz, Rafael Sunsao fighting pretty soon. Guy on a roll like a Sunsao with a victory over him, and Dominic Cruz, we don't know how he's going to come back from all this. If they both win, who's got the better case?
It's a good problem to have that we're determining who it should be, and then probably whoever doesn't fight TJ will fight Barao, and we'll go from there.
And one last question. Betch has been very impressive. Last 2 fights knocking out viciously 2 of Ronda's teammates. And with Wes not knowing what's going to happen with Carano or Cyborg, or Holly Holm's not ready yet.
Katzengano's
Katzengano's
still there.
Or does she need a win or 2 more, you feel?
You know, why would she not want to fight? She's going to want to fight. She's going to stay active and busy. You know Ronda. As soon as she started talking, Ronda texted me and said, I want that fight. I want it now. I want it before somebody else beats her. And I said, calm down, lady. You've got other people to fight, and we'll figure it out. So Ronda wants that fight too. So we'll see how this thing plays out.
Dana, are you going to try to talk Barao up into moving up to 145?
No. He's going to have to do what he thinks is best for him. You know, his 145-pound defense against TJ didn't go too well. And then his coming back for the rematch, he doesn't make weight. You know, it's something he seriously needs to think about.
And TJ, can you talk about? I mean, obviously, this guy Soto had a huge boost of adrenaline going through him with the title shot. But for you, preparing for Barao the whole time and then having that change, was that the most difficult thing about this fight for you?
Absolutely. It was a real stressful night last night. I was up till 1 o'clock doing interviews about Soto. You know, the UFC was at my house coming to do some interviews. But it was just the fact that, you know, you train so much for this one guy, and it's just a mix-up. You know, other than that, I turned it into a positive. It was a crazy situation. I've never had to deal with anything like that before.
And you said you want to take some time off. When can you see yourself fighting again? How many more months?
I'll be ready whenever they call me. You know, I'll be in there training for Mendez, get ready for Aldo. I'm going to be in the gym. It's not like I'm not going to be training. It's just I want my body to rest a little bit, you know, but we'll see. I'm ready whenever.
Thank you.
Question for TJ Dillashaw. TJ, you know, in a lot of ways, this was really a carbon copy of your performance against Barao. You won it with hand speed, footwork, combinations, even the 5th round finish after pitching a shutout on the scorecards. Would we have seen the same blueprint? Was that the game plan if you had fought Barao a second time?
I think I could have been a little bit more aggressive on my feet if I was fighting Barao. You know, I feel like Soto's got better wrestling. You know, I had to keep a good distance and be aware of his wrestling. I didn't want him to try to grind the fight out and get me to where he's at his best. You know, so I had to be a little bit more timid of the takedowns. Which, if I would have had a longer camp, I think to train for Soto, I would have been a little more comfortable with it. But it was a one-night adjustment that I had to watch some tape and be aware. You know, he's been taking people down and submitting a lot of people, so I had to be cautious of that.
And in the 3rd and the 4th, you landed takedowns, and obviously the stand-up game was working. There was nothing wrong with that. Was that just an attempt to change the tempo and maybe get a finish?
Just be a well-rounded fighter. You know, keep mixing things up and keep him guessing. You know, I was doing too much of standing in front of him and banging with him, and I was hearing my coaches saying, use my elevation change and get my shots because it'll confuse him more, and I'm safe on top. You know, I can win my rounds. I was hearing my dad down there saying too, not to be afraid to take him down. You know, so that's in the back of my head thinking, you know, so just to mix it up.
A question for Tony Ferguson. Tony, it was a split decision. A close fight. I think a lot of people agree on that. Do you think it was as close as the judges had it?
You know what? Like I said before, I left it to the hands of the judges. In the beginning, I was eating them up with kicks. You know what I mean? I probably should have kept to that little strategy. But I tried to change it up and give you guys a show. You know what I mean? I wanted to take some chances so that way you guys know that I'm out there. People wanted to buy this pay-per-view and they wanted to see some stuff. You know, he didn't want to exchange with me. I kept putting the pressure, and he just laid on top of me. You know, I've had other guys in jiu-jitsu where they were trying to pass my guard and everything else, but this guy just laid on top of me. I looked at Herb Dean. I was like, hey, you going to stand us up? You know, nothing else happened. So then, hey, I try to shrimp to the cage in reverse situations sometimes. You know, I was always attacking, going for submissions. Hey, you know what I mean? The judge saw it in my favor. Thank you.
You had that signature Darce choke attempt in the 1st round. You held it for quite a bit. Were you waiting for an adjustment there? Can you take us inside the mechanics of that?
I was actually in the mechanics of it. Hey, man, he defended really well. What I was trying to do is actually situate myself so I could actually go on top on the other side and come out with kind of like a lion choke on the other side. But he defended really well. He was really slippery on the time because when I put the choke into, the grease from the face actually was in there. And I could feel him slipping out of it. But then I just kind of remained calm. I saw the time, and then I saw my cornermen. They were just like, relax, you know. And I knew I wasn't going to finish him, but I just didn't want to be in a crappy situation.
And finally, a question for Dana White. Dana, obviously the chaos of the card shuffling this week, well documented. But when it came down to it, it was a great main card. 4 finishes. The main event was, Joe Soto was a game opponent. Do you think that this was an instance of the equity in the brand of the UFC as a whole, and maybe particularly the matchmaking quality of Joe Silva just not being given enough credit that it could be a quality night, even if Starr pulled out of the main event?
I mean, 13 years. How many times do we have to go through this? How many times do we have to do it? I mean, we always bring in the best guys in the world, and these guys go on to perform. I mean, that's what I love about a town like Sacramento when we come and fight here. All the things that went on, all the negative crap that was being said about this thing, and ticket sales. There were walk-up tickets today, and the only, probably the only returns were guys who were scalping tickets, the guys who returned them. It was amazing. We did a $700,000 gate, and through all the bullshit, here we are. Great night, great fights, and, everybody left here happy. So, been doing it for 13 years. It's not like this is our first year in the fights, and it's like, holy shit, the card was good. This is crazy.
Thanks.
For TJ, obviously Dana has said that Hennon is going to have to win another fight before he can face you again. Are you okay with that? I mean, do you think that's the right choice, or is part of you, you've been focused on this guy so long, there's animosity there that you'd like to face him next just to maybe put that chapter behind you?
Or more. I'm not saying one fight. I'm just saying he's going to have to fight somebody else. He might have to fight more. See how the thing plays out.
I agree with him, but I leave it in the hands of the UFC and Dana and what they're going to do. I'm here to be a company man, be a good champion, and do what I need to do.
Is it a fight that you want in the future at some point, or have you just kind of put that phase behind you with all this that's happened?
For now, it's behind me. I just had to beat Joe Soto. I had to switch my mind up in one day. So, it's always the hard, I hate those questions. Who do you want to fight next? It's like, I don't know. I mean, I've just been thinking about one person for the last 10 weeks, and then I had to switch it up last night. So those are the questions I hate the most, is having to pick who I want to fight next. I'd rather just go have some fun tonight, hang out, and we'll figure it out later.
And Danny,
I hate those questions too, by the way. Just so you know.
You mentioned the list of people that's lined up for Ronda Rousey, but I mean, with the
who's she going to fight now?
Not who's she going to fight, but could you see a situation where Betch kind of moves ahead of some of those people in that list because of the little rivalry that's there, because Ronda wants that fight?
No, I don't think that Beth moves up because of the rivalry. I think Beth moves up because of what she did tonight. I mean, that was crazy. The combination, the punches she hit her with. I mean, I haven't seen anything like that since like Baroni Monet. It's crazy. She looked good tonight. That's what's going to get her a fight with Rousey.
TJ, a quick question here, just to go back to Barao. When you first heard that he didn't make weight, was your reaction? Were you angry? Were you stunned? What was your overwhelming? Like you said, you spent 10 weeks just thinking about nothing but Barao.
Yeah, I was angry at first. I mean, even going to do my interview with Joe at weigh-ins was kind of saying, he was scared and all that stuff. I mean, who knows what really happened to him, but that was just me being angry at the situation. I mean, it was tough. It was tough to just get game for switching my opponent like that, so I was angry,
How long did it take you? Did somebody talk you off the ledge, or how long did it take you to work through it, and before you got collected, were able to
after weigh-ins, going and getting some fluids back in your body and not being so cranky and getting actually some food in your system, and then, I had a good hypnotherapist talk me through some positive situations for this fight, and that's when I started to relax, I mean, I was obviously game to take the fight because that's what I needed to do, but it took me a little while to relax.
And true, that's another thing too. When you go in and he's got all this pressure on him, all the things that he's done leading up to this fight, and he's in the weight cutting phase. He's got an hour and 15 minutes left of the thing. Well, now we switch the opponent. We have to build the whole show all over again. Everything that's been done, all the interviews he's done, not just with the press. He had to go do all the press interviews. Then he had to do all our interviews because we had to rebuild the whole show. The show opened. When we start the show, we had to build a feature. We had to. Fox needed some stuff. I mean, these guys, him and Soto both had to work all night to rebuild this show too. So pretty crazy what these guys have been through in the last 24 hours.
So how much sleep did you get between?
Oh, I got enough sleep. I mean, we didn't have to get here until 4:15, so I was able to sleep in nice. I always get to sleep in really long the night of after weigh-ins because you're on a full stomach.
I didn't sleep, if you care. Slept like shit last night.
Dana, when it comes to, you mentioned about Barao, and he's going to get another shot at 135. When it comes to Cejudo, I mean, are there any kind of thoughts that you have on him and his situation?
Yeah, he's either going to have to move up in weight or not fight here again.
Okay.
Or not attempt to fight here again, I should say.
You just thought that not another chance at 125?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm just not going to do it again.
TJ, every couple of months we seem to hear from Rafael Assunção reminding us that he beat you before, and then every now and then we hear from John Dodson that he'll move up in weight and knock you out again. Does that trash talk bother you? Do you want revenge on these guys?
No, you don't look into that, man. You just get better as a martial artist, do your job, beat up whoever's in front of you, and just be a humble guy. I'm not going to look in the past. I beat Rafael Assunção. I don't care what the judges say. I've said it in all my interviews. But, obviously I left it in the hands of the judges, and it was my fault. But, no, I don't look into that.
DJ, over here. Spoke to your mom before the fight, and she said that biggest crowd ever from Angels Camp, over 600, most ever to watch you fight live in person. What was it like to be able to go out there and put on a show for them?
I have a great hometown. They've watched me all through my wrestling career and now supporting through my fighting career, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. I go home and get so much love, so I appreciate it. Like I said, I pulled up into the parking lot in the bus, and everyone's like, damn, what's going on over here? Just motorhome after motorhome and tour buses, and it was just really cool. I think my dad went and bought 3 kegs for everyone to go and hang out and tailgate for the last 5 hours before the fight started. So they were having fun and getting amped up to watch me fight, and that pumps me up. It loosens me up and makes me have a good time.
In the octagon, it seems like you're trying to pump up the crowd a lot during the fight. What was the reason for that? Do you think you just kind of wanted to get some motivation from the fan to kind of boost you?
I feed off the emotion of the crowd, I think, and just the fact to make it a show, man. I want to be an entertainer. I want to have a fun night. Me and Soto put down tonight. We had a great fight, and not alone just pumping up the crowd. It's fun. I enjoy my job, and it makes it a whole lot more fun when people are going crazy.
All right, thank you.
Take one more question.
For Ms. Correa, when you started unleashing your combinations, was there a point when you knew you had her, when you knew you were going to knock her out with your hands? Because those are beautiful combinations.
Quando você começou a jogar as combinações, tinha algum momento que você sabia que estava acabando a luta, que você estava nocauteando ela?
Sim, quando eu comecei a soltar os golpes, eu vi que ela estava nocauteada em pé, estava se apoiando mais na grade. Por isso que ela não tinha decaído, então eu só fiz continuar. E o árbitro interrompeu, acho que ele interrompeu bem, que eu estava realmente percebendo que ela não estava inconsciente mais.
Yeah, when I started throwing my strikes, I could tell that she was basically standing up, knocked out, and she was pretty much leaning against the cage, so I think the referee did a good job of stopping the fight.
He did a great job. People were bitching about that stoppage on the internet. Stupid. Anyway, thank you guys very much. Thank you, Sacramento. We really appreciate you. Have a great night, everybody.